Now, Britain's Conservative government has approved the UK's first new coal mine in 3 decades. This decision is being widely condemned by environmentalists that are promoting the fight against climate change. Joining us now is Musa Mdunge, who is in Scotland. He's a Scotland-based political analyst. Musa, thank you so much for making time for us this afternoon. So this announcement caught many South Africans by surprise because the UK is one of the countries telling us to slow down on coal. Yes, they say this is net zero, but it's really sending a wrong signal this side. How did they explain it?
Look, I mean, the United Kingdom has been obviously facing a lot of challenges recently when it comes to energy production. But also, and what happened, especially in the turn during the 1980s, during Margaret Thatcher's period, there was obviously a move away from industrialization into the financial sectors and financial markets. And this really impacted the UK's economy with many losing jobs. And there's been a huge call for the revival of cities that who came to fame because of the industrialization. And so coal mining has been a very important part of that. Unfortunately for the UK, it finds itself in a position whereby it is trying to be a leader in terms of renewables, in terms of, climate change. But unfortunately, given the economic challenges it faces, it also has to answer questions around energy. And of course, I can see how this could be seen as hypocritical for the United Kingdom, given its role or proposed role to try to help finance South Africa's just energy transition. And what is interesting about this matter is that this has been a decision taken by the central government. Not even local councillors or communities were actually lobbied or consulted for this issue. And again, this points to the fact that Westminster seems to do as it wants and it pleases to do without giving much consideration to other levels of government as well as to affected communities. And that's the problem that the UK finds itself currently.
Yeah. So how has it been received, this decision there, especially by environmentalists?
Of course, environmentalists are up in arms. They will not accept what they believe is a relegation of the UK's responsibility, as a responsible player in the global economy, as a country that ought to be promoting, green energy in the global economy, as well as opposition parties such as Labour have already come out in condemnation of the move. And in fact, are saying that this is a further sign of a government that is simply out of touch and out of step with the needs of people, and where people are who have value the just transition, as well as the importance of climate change. And so there's huge opposition happening currently, but given that the Conservatives are in control, they'll be able to push this through with little of anything that the opposition party can actually do.
Yeah, I mean, hours before the decision was announced, government reversed the ban on building new onshore wind farms in Britain, and many were speculating and wondering whether this was an attempt to offset the critics of this mine decision. What will this coal mine be used for? Is it power generation? Is it to make steel? What's the plan?
So, what we've heard is that in actual fact, it is there to support the production of steel manufacturing. But of course, given the energy issues in the UK, that may just well be the front. It may end up being the case that it is transferred into being about energy production. And I won't be surprised if that is where it is going. The UK has huge challenges. Such is the case in Europe right now. And unfortunately, for us in South Africa who are looking, we are asking ourselves, well, is there anything such as a just energy transition? And how can we really build our own economies when we are not energy secure? And if Western democracies, advanced economies, are themselves struggling, how much more for emerging and developing economies such as South Africa? Yeah. So yes, it is for steel production, but my belief is that this is just but a front. And what we will see is a greater push by the United Kingdom, given the pressure on the energy costs for coal production to support energy generation in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I indicated earlier that this caught many by surprise in South Africa, and the key question that a lot of people are asking themselves is how the UK expects other countries to rein in fossil fuel extraction when they are building new coal mines.
Yes, you know, it is one of those things that, unfortunately, what we have seen, given the war in Ukraine, is that a lot of things have been upended, you know, and a lot of countries are having to ask serious questions about not only their international relations, but the dependency of their economies on certain countries. And so we see this with the attempt that has been made by the United States as well as its allies in order to put a price cap on gas that's coming in from Russia, and as one of the ways to mitigate the cost of energy. And we in South Africa are feeling it. You know, you look at inflation, you look at what is happening with Eskom currently. You know, the energy is really going to be the battleground. Energy and water security are really going to be the battlegrounds for the global economy, and are really going to define geopolitics for the next 10 years. And so countries like the United Kingdom are just but a reflection of these moving pieces in the global economy where energy becomes so central. And for South Africa, it also has certain questions that it's got to ask about how will it pursue just energy transition? What does just energy transition even look like? And if you can't even keep the lights on currently, how then can you be trusted to be, how can you be trusted to therefore move South Africa away from coal? And that's the questions that the South African government has simply not answered and needs to answer as soon as possible in order that you can then do the necessary planning to ensure that we don't find ourselves in 20 years' time where we are currently today.
Yeah, listen, those are questions that even some of the ANC leaders that may not be in government are struggling to answer. Only this afternoon, the ANC is telling us that they are going to be discussing in their NEC this energy crisis and try and come up with a plan. And you're wondering, what plan could they come up with, and what are they doing all along? Thank you for making time for us. Musa Mdunge is a political analyst who's based there in Scotland.